everyone has passions, everyone has dreams. I really believe in this concept of fitness. Fitness was something that was really passionate to me. And the reason why fitness was important to me is because I felt like it was a great equalizer. No matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your background or what you have, you can always improve your fitness. So in 2010, I kind of started coding and making ultimately what would become SweatWorks. In 10 years, I would love to see SweatWorks impact more people. Nothing would make me happier to look at a national stat and to say that heart disease has come down by 10%. And if we had a 0.1% dent, blip in that, that would be significant because we've made someone else's life better. We're not just another agency that's looking for a project. We're an agency that is committed to getting people fitter, and we live that. The purpose of our company is to understand someone's brand and how we can use that brand's philosophy to impact more people.
Mo, many thanks for joining us here. Congratulations on the continued growth of SweatWorks. For those watching that perhaps have never heard of SweatWorks, can you just give them a quick insight into your company and to what services you're currently offering your wide range of customers?
Absolutely, Ross. And thank you so much for having us be a part of the program. We're certainly excited to be here. So SweatWorks is a US based fitness agency. So what we do is provide a lot of digital type services for our brands. One of our mission statements is really to help people get fitter and improve their wellness journey. And we view our brands as a conduit to help us achieve that. What we do is provide really everything from hardware design, manufacturing, to app development, strategy, integrations, and everything else in between.
Great stuff. Now, we've got a few investors watching this, and they're always on the lookout for some interesting companies. They're always quite short and sharp about what they want and need more, as you know. How would you describe SweatWorks in perhaps one sentence to a new investor?
The one sentence I would use to describe SweatWorks is constant innovation. And I say that because we are now just over 9 years old. We have innovated and grown every single year since our inception, and we have not stopped innovating. The minute we have ideated, released, and launched a product, even before that, we're already on into the next innovation.
Let's look at your growth over the past couple of years, Mo. It has been transformational for you and the company. You're now working across fitness, wellness, sports. I mean, the entire gambit of this new wider health and fitness and wellness ecosystem. What have been some of the milestones that you've proudly hit in these past few years?
That's a great question. I think when we initially started, or for any entrepreneur, you tend to start with what you know and what you're comfortable in. And to me, being in endurance sports and being a runner by trade, I kind of gravitated towards that. So when I first created SweatWorks, we started on the endurance space. And what we did there is we really looked at experiential events. One of our earliest clients was Spartan Race. And we looked to see, this is a tremendous experience. How can we get more people to come to the event, help them train the event, and really see what a life-changing experience participating in a fitness event can be? So I would say that was significant for us. Moving on from that, we went into innovating experiences within a big box gym. So think about Equinox, Lifetime Fitness. These are brands that are here in the US, but larger big box gyms. And what we try to do there is really rethink everything from the member check-in experience and how are you greeted, what does the check-in process look like, to what does your experience in a spin class look like? How can the gym help you along your wellness journey? And that's really, help the gym shift the mindset from just being on a heavy sales recruitment cycle, focused heavily on personal training, to really providing much more value add to their members. From there, in 2015, we got into boutique fitness, and those are brands like CrossFit, SoulCycle, and others. So we really innovated them from a digital perspective. So these are brands that had something that was really curated in a small studio, but provided community, provided a high intensity workout and a lot of fun and engagement, which a big box gym didn't have. So by adding a digital element on top of that, we enable that connection and engagement to be even further. And then the other big milestone is in 2016 and 17, we went into hardware, into connected hardware. And that's really where we opened up our office in Shenzhen, China. We started designing, creating our own fitness-focused hardware consoles.
Let's look at today's marketplace, Mo. We've seen this huge acceleration of digital. Every single company needs to invest now to touch their customers anywhere at any point. You've obviously seen the explosion of the likes of fitness and wellness apps, and of course, these different platforms that customers are trying to get engaged upon. What trends have you noticed in the past couple of years, especially when it comes to how companies are building apps, how companies are building digital touch points, and of course, at home fitness as well, at home connected? What trends are you seeing in the marketplace?
When we look at fitness and fitness evolution in terms of technology and the touch points that different consumers have, more often than not, we're not the first to innovate. Other industries have been there and done that. And I'm really looking at media as one that's really evolved over the last 20 years. And let's look at how media is now engaging consumers. I mean, we both come from a world where you used to flip through different channels, flip through different stations. And now you are getting personalized recommendations on what to watch and what to do. So much so that if you and I are watching the same Netflix trailer, the same Netflix preview, what Netflix shows me as a preview is going to be based off of what I like in a show. So I might want to see sci-fi or some action. And Ross, for you, what Netflix shows you an exact same show is going to be, that preview is going to be geared towards what you would have liked within that show. And when you think about that, that's really remarkable. So the core theme that we've seen happen is personalization and being able to provide you content where you need it, when you need it.
Can you give me some examples, Mo, I suppose, of some of the work you're doing with clients, especially? Obviously, there are different levels of investment. People are not sure how much money to invest in, but what levels of investment have you seen put in that have obviously generated some great returns? Perhaps a couple of reflections of some of the recent work you've had.
Yeah, as we look back at brands, I think there's a few things that a brand needs to decide. If you're going to be involved in fitness and frankly, anything that has a technology touch point, you really have to be all in. So you've got to make sure that you're offering your members not only a great community that potentially could be in person, but make sure that the community is also available online as well. And the same goes for the full experience. And quite honestly, just doing, recording a video and making it available on YouTube and saying I'm now digital is not enough. Consumers today are going to demand and request a lot more. So some examples that we've worked on recently, I'll give you one in Mixed Fitness. Mixed Fitness was a very young company that nobody has ever heard of. That was a startup, and I believe they started in 2018. That's certainly when we got to engage with them. So they must have started before that. When they engaged with us, they had no brand equity. Nobody knew who they were. Now, a year later, they were acquired by Beachbody. They have over 50,000 subscribers. And that's an example of a brand that is available in a connected platform only. There's no real studio presence. Another one could be a brand like City Row or SoulCycle. And now in both of those brands, they had existing studios, that existing locations, a very connected member base that was really liking and engaging a lot of that brand. They would buy their apparel, they would be friends with their instructors and really hang out and really create a social circle around the brand itself. But they also focus on going digital. How can you now take that experience and really bring it into your home? And what we saw happen there is really a shift in how consumers engage with the brand. So before, you might be going to your studio class or your gym anywhere from 2 to 5 times per week. Now you might be enjoying that experience 2 times a week at home and maybe 2 times a week in the studio.
What are your thoughts and advice perhaps to a lot of these operators and businesses? They're sitting down with their executive teams, their marketing teams, their customer engagement teams, and they're trying to understand how they can best put together content engagement strategies for the future. Is content king? Is curation of content king? Is perhaps maybe convenience king, Mo? What do they have to consider as they're building this strategy?
I think it's all of the above. And really, if you want to look at your answer for that, if I'm a brand, if I'm sitting in their office, I would say, go look at your most captivated consumer and start there. Go look at that consumer that engages with your brand at the highest level, or at least the levels that you expect them to engage, and start there. A big mistake that I see a lot of brands make on day one is to just assume that they are a fit for everybody. We live in a growing market where more and more people are coming into fitness. And I think it's important to recognize that while you might have a tremendous brand that you believe in and has worked for a lot of people along their fitness journey, it's not for everybody. But there's enough of your consumer out there to continue to grow. So I would target a lot of your efforts towards that champion advocate or that champion brand ambassador that you have. The second thing I would look at, as people are getting more educated, as they're able to track their own metrics, see their own wellness improve, and just a lot more informed around their own fitness, is you've got to be able to show measurable progress. You've got to be able to show that by you engaging, with our brand and with our community, you're getting improvements in wellness. And that just doesn't mean you're getting fitter, you're losing weight. Certainly that might be a part of it, but it's not everything. The metric I like to look for is quality of life. Is your life better today because you've engaged with us? And that could mean that it's a stress reliever for you. Maybe perhaps you could spend more time with your children. Maybe you could golf more. Whatever that means, I think that's an important metric that a lot of brands are not looking at yet.
Now, as technology evolves more, we're going to see a lot more features, a lot more functionality, a lot more measurements, as you just talked about when it comes to digital. What are your thoughts and perhaps and what this will look like in the future? Is more better in terms of more features, more tracking, more measurements, or will simplicity win when it comes to how people are building up a digital strategy and touch point?
Well, whether you like it or not, you are going to be tracked more. People are going to be knowing what you're doing more. And I think that is a really fine line. What we try to do at SweatWorks is first and foremost is to respect the consumer and respect their privacy. And I think it's really upon us leading in technology and building technology to start with that as a pillar before you even create anything. Understand that consumers' rights needs to be protected. Now, to your second point, is more better? That, is a good question, but it's a complex one. I think more is better, but at what cost? So what we try to do as an example is, as we're leveraging AI, we, instead of sending all of the data to cloud computing and servers like basic AI does today, we're implementing edge AI, which means that we keep a lot of that AI and personalization close to you, close to the device. We do a lot of that processing within the local device. So we don't need to send your personal data, intimate data, up into the cloud for processing. So more is better because it's almost like a personal trainer. It's almost like a therapist or a coach, right? The more that you disclose to a coach, the more the coach can be able to leverage on their years of experience to better help you. But at the same time, you also need to have confidence that whatever you're sharing is going to be respected and protected. So I think, yes, more is better, but make sure that you've got the guardrails in place to protect the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. The consumer's privacy and data has to come first. Let's look at innovation. You at the front line, Mo, when it comes to how you're innovating this marketplace. And traditionally, I suppose a lot of the innovation in any marketplace comes from these small emerging players who can move quickly. We're starting to see, of course, in health, fitness and wellness, huge, large tech companies coming into the fray, investing lots of money in the future. Where will innovation come from? Do you think it will still come from the smaller players, or do you think some of these larger MNCs will have a larger role to play?
I think usually innovation generally starts with the smaller players for a lot of reasons, mostly because because they're not established, they have less to lose. And if you have less to lose, you could take a bigger risk. And just by that very nature alone, you're going to be more prone to innovate. The second reason for that is, if you are a new employee and you're starting at a big brand like a Peloton, as an example, who's a leader in the connected category right now, you're still going to be predisposed to notions that are already in the room, that are already in the building. And that's why a lot of brands hire agencies like us, because when we are able to come in, we're coming in with a fresh set of eyes, and we're able to have purview on the broader market, and we're able to see the broader market. But nevertheless, I still believe most of the innovation that you're going to see is going to come from either smaller companies or larger companies that have kind of created these R&D, innovation labs where you hire really good people and let them go to work.
Let's look over the past 2 years. We've had a digital acceleration across our industry. Hybridization, omni-channel is now mainstream, or certainly considered a crucial part of the business going forward. And of course, AI is now coming into our industry, such as utilization through SweatWorks. Looking ahead for the next couple of years, Mo, what excites you most about the tech industry? What trends are you following? What big step changes do you see on the horizon, if any?
Look, we've been around for almost 10 years, and I've seen more innovation in the last 2 years than I have in the first 8 combined. And the reasons for that is really, again, I always go back to the consumer. The consumer is getting better informed, is gaining more knowledge, and a lot of it is driven by wearables. It's driven by these larger brands like Apple, like Fitbit, like Google, like Samsung, and some other newer players out of China who have now mass marketed products. They're having more information available to consumers, and now consumers are saying, look, I see this metric, I'm not walking enough, or I'm not drinking enough water. Now can I go find a brand or a coach to help me achieve that or improve that? So I do see innovation happening at a really rapid pace. You touched on AI, and I think that's an important one where we're going to see a lot of innovation happen, and we've only scratched the surface of what AI can do. To me, the benefit of AI is that you can potentially get the best coach in front of you and the best recommendations in front of you. Whereas before, you might have to spend, if you're in New York or DC, $1,000 or more per hour for the best trainer in the world to give you amazing insights. So really, grabbing from all of the years of experience, all of their schooling, everything else. Now, with properly implemented AI, that could be available to a much broader audience. And I think that's what really excites me is that, look, we really view wellness as one of the key gateways to improving your quality of life. And the gap between that traditionally has been access to gyms and good fitness locations and equipment, but second, also access to the best coaches and trainers. With connected fitness today, with wearables, with what we could do with AI, we can now broaden that availability to a much wider group of people. And that's exciting for me.
Mo, it's great to see events restarting. It's great to see facilities reopen. You have a very unique perspective. You can look at this from across a multitude of lenses as you see consumers coming back to facilities and back into experiences. What trends are you seeing?
The current consumer today was already evolving. They were already changing. With the advent of mobile phones, apps, just the way we interact with people was already happening. What COVID did is accelerate that evolution by 3 to 5 years, and some might even say put us ahead by 8 years, which is a wonderful thing. What does that mean for us? We really view that in 3 buckets. The first being how we view work, how we view interaction and productivity. We now know, a lot of large companies know that while being in the office is still productive, and that's hard to replicate, and I think that will never go away. There's a lot to be done outside of the office. So maybe you don't need to be in the office every single day. You can still be very productive by splitting your time in a hybrid model. The next is experiences, whether it's dining out, going to the movies. We've now seen movies come direct to Apple TV or direct to other devices without going to the movie theater. I don't think that's going to change. Now, as it relates to us in fitness, We've seen fitness evolve in a tremendous way. Here's some interesting stats. I'm sure a lot of our listeners today are on Strava as an example. Strava saw an incredible uptick in over 20% of activities recorded during COVID. Being in the US, another interesting stat is the national parks saw a record number of visitors to the national parks during COVID. And personally, I was able to PR my marathon, my half marathon, not marathon, my half marathon with a time of 1:24 during COVID. I was training for a marathon at the time. So I was able to get fitter as well. And I didn't think that that was possible. So what did we learn? And what did consumers learn? Consumers learned that while gyms have a ton of benefits, the face-to-face interaction, the community, the experience, the mindset shift when you walk in through a gym or studio door, you could still improve your wellness and your fitness with what you have at home. Consumers have invested in the at-home experience already, whether that is creating a space for work and creating a space for working out, whether it is finding trails in their neighborhood or incorporating walks during their days while they're taking a Zoom call, as an example. As events start opening up and as studios start opening up, I think it's really pertinent for them to recognize that they're welcoming back an evolved consumer. Not the same consumer that they had 12 months ago. You have an evolved consumer. You have a consumer now that is more in tune with their own health and wellness, more in tune with their own preferences, and wants flexibility. While they love seeing your face again, they might also want to see your face online because they might be traveling. They might have a second home. We've also seen a big shift where people that were in the cities have now spent more time either in a second home or invested in a second home outside of the city as well. So how can you reach them there? So as we start opening up, focus on all the essentials, safety, all the precautions that you have to take, but at the same time, realize that you're welcoming back a new and evolved person.
Now, we started with the milestones you have achieved. Let's try and wrap up with the milestones that you want to achieve. It's great to see you now coming into different parts of the world, Asia Pacific, the Middle East. What does the next couple of years have in store for you, Mo? What's on the horizon that you're now chasing?
I think we have a lot of work to do. I started this company to ultimately help improve the quality of life of people in something which I know well, which is fitness and technology. And I think we've done a pretty good job here in the US of working with brands to help them reach the right consumer, constantly innovate, improving the product experience, and making sure that their consumers are well on their wellness journey and continue to live, to build lifelong wellness. We'd love to now take that beyond the US borders, which is why we've just opened up an office in London and made some key appointments there and looking to grow as well in the Asia Pacific region. What I'd like to see in the next couple of years is for us to engage with the right types of brands that share in our philosophies and our beliefs to go ahead and build something special for the broader community.
Last question. I'm going to turn the spotlight directly on you, Mo. As you touched upon earlier on, you are an endurance athlete. It's been in your blood for many years now. They are known to be resilient, to have endurance and perseverance. Coming through the end of this COVID crisis, we can start to see, of course, green shoots on the horizon. Looking back in these 12 months, how did you lean on these and perhaps other attributes to successfully still grow a business against this very challenging backdrop?
Well, I think if you talk to most entrepreneurs, most founders, most executives, what they'll tell you is that business by itself is uncertain. And the fact that you're in business is a very uncertain element. So in a lot of ways, we were prepared for this. Look, I look at COVID almost like I don't control government regulations. So when we're looking to build a product or innovate, we're going to be doing that within what's available to us. And tying this back into being an endurance athlete, I love running marathons. In fact, I did one in Singapore 2 years ago, one of the worst marathons I've ever run. This is when it was still an early morning marathon. I understand it's now become an evening marathon. But man, that was tough. And I will tell you that when I got to those final 4 miles at mile 22 with just over 4 miles to go, it's really, mental toughness and knowing that you've been through harder things, and also that, we're privileged to be doing what we're doing. And at the end of the day, I tell that to my team all the time. We are really privileged and fortunate to be in a situation where we could put our minds together. We've got some of the best people in the world. And what we're doing is helping other people improve their own lives. So just with that mindset, continuing to be heads down, work, I think that's been really exciting and really helped us get through this last year.
Well, look, congratulations for all you've done so far, Mo. A very good conversation. Really enjoyed having that with you, and look forward to seeing you and the team face to face very soon. Mo, thanks very much.
Ross, thank you.